January hasn't been the easiest of months for those guys, and for them to be able to close the month out in the fashion that they did. There were multiple opportunities when things weren't going our way, and they continued to stand their ground, and that's what gave us a chance. I think, Olin, a lot of it is some of the things that we talk about each time that we visit. It's only the second game, but the first back-to-back games that we had single-digit turnovers, that's ginormous for our team, as you know. We got beat on the glass by LSU by 2, but we had 15 rebounds that led to 16 points. Today, we beat them on the glass, and 9 rebounds that turned into 8 points. Those 2 things are huge, but to have an opportunity to get fouled and to have the opportunity to get an offensive rebound, that can only occur if you don't turn it over. And so our turnover rate continues to decline in the last 2 games, and that gives us a chance. But I thought there were a lot of individual plays where you saw guys being the best version of who they could be, and I think that's contagious. And I think when things weren't going perfectly, we stood our ground and were able to execute and continue on to the next play. So very happy for our guys.
And I just wanted to ask you, there when you are down 3, you called a timeout with 10 seconds left on the shot clock.
Yeah.
What were you looking for?
Yeah, it's a good play. It's one of our core plays. I didn't necessarily want to call that timeout because my gut said that was going to be a 1-possession game down the stretch, but I didn't like how that possession had begun. That's a play. I don't think that we've run it since we've been at Texas A&M. There's a lot of options through that play. Save went through the first 2 reads in it. And then his decision-making was great. Obviously, he got fouled and made not only the basket, but the free throw. But I thought the execution of the play for the first time of all the times that we've practiced it, obviously that was ginormous. Following 24, I think it was his 6-3 on the other end leading up to that.
Yeah. All right. Well, hey, thanks a lot, Buzz.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
All right, let's go to Chip Howard from Sports Talk.
Your pressure, Buzz, down the stretch really bothered them. Was that something that you had worked on coming into this game?
Yeah, so I know you know this, Chip, because you watch all our games and study the numbers. The stuff we do in the front court, there's different ways behind the press that we make adjustments. The front part of it stays the same. The good thing for us when we're doing right is, maybe it eats up 6 seconds, maybe it eats up 8 seconds. And then with a methodical team that needs to get the ball back to the point guard in order to initiate offense, maybe it buys us another 2 seconds, sometimes 3. And so now they're trying to initiate offense at 19 seconds on the clock, 21 seconds on the clock. And so that a byproduct of that is it shortens the playbook that they're able to choose from. And I think that was big for us today. And in many respects, in our tenure here, that has been a good combination to what we're trying to accomplish defensively.
When you have a guy start going off like Pack did in the second half, what are you trying to do to get him off his game?
Well, number one, as you know, we want to force as many contested threes as possible, and we want to keep the ball out of the paint. We call it the box defensively. We don't want to foul. Most fouls occur in the box. We've done a very good job. 35% of LSU's possessions, they got to the box. Today, that number was 39%. That's an elite level number. So if you're not allowing it to get to the box, that means they're going to shoot a lot of threes. Today, 63% of their shots were from 3. That's perfect. Only if the next 2 things occur. Number one, they're contested threes. And then number 2, because it's going to be a long shot, it's going to be a long rebound. So that forces your guards to have to be involved in defensive rebound responsibilities. We had 12 guard rebounds against LSU, and I don't know the exact number because I'm trying to keep my eyes on the camera, but I would say we for sure had 12 again today, which is a good number for our team.
All right, let's go to Travis Brown from the Bryan College Station Eagle.
Hey, Coach. Your guys before this were raving about how well practice was this week. Do you have the same opinion?
Not to sound condescending, Travis. I always try to be very mannerly with you, and I don't want to sound like I'm a prophet and have all the answers, because I know a lot of coaches, sometimes their ego gets in the way with that. But we haven't had any consistency in practice, which is why we haven't had any consistency in our games. And I think for whatever reason, our practices leading up to LSU. So we played at Ole Miss at 2:30, and LSU was the first Tuesday game in January. So we had to work on Sunday. We had to work on Monday. The Vanderbilt game was canceled on Wednesday. I know you remember this conversation. So we went 6 consecutive days of work, and I don't know exactly why, but we kind of narrowed even more our focus on both ends of the floor, which changed the itinerary of practice just a little bit more. And I thought there was much more consistency on Sunday and Monday, which is why we were much better on Tuesday, even though LSU's roster is good enough to win the national championship. But what we're trying to accomplish was much better. We were off on Wednesday, and then we were able to pick up where we left off from Tuesday night. That's the first time that's happened this year. How we practiced on Thursday, how we practiced yesterday morning before we left, very encouraging. And then I think some of those things are coming to life in the game, but it's because of what we're doing on non-game days. And so without sounding too much like a coach, we'll be off tomorrow. When we go back to work on Monday and Tuesday, can we just keep taking incremental baby steps relative to the tools we're giving our guys to fight with on both ends?
And then when you look at the stats that we can see, it seems like everything that you look for was checked off, except for maybe the percentage of layups made. I think it was 8 for 21. What did you see in that regard, and what do you do moving forward from there?
Yeah, so someday, like, you can shadow us and you'll have all access, and you'll see some of the things that we study relative to the numbers, but then we have clips that back up those numbers. And we have a lot of newcomers that all of this is brand new. And then we haven't had the consistency from our older guys because they didn't have to be the guys last year. But we gave up 10 layups against LSU, and I would say 7 of them were like because we didn't do our job. We gave up less than 10 layups today, which is a great number. I understand we're not going to be perfect, but relative to how we're wired defensively, that's the whole premise of what we're doing. So if 63% of their shots came from 3, that's a really good start. If you look at how many of them were contested, that's the next level to it. But the flip side of that is 39% of the time they got to the box. So sometimes they got to the box and it turned into a 3. And then, as you mentioned, sometimes they got to the box and it turned into a layup. But some of their layups, Travis, were they shot a 3 and we didn't get the rebound, and they got an offensive rebound and a putback. And without looking down, I don't know what that number is, but that's some of the layups. So we were even better than we were against LSU, which is encouraging.
Mm-hmm. And I was actually even referring to y'all's performance shooting layups today on.
Well, it just looks a little better when we don't turn it over. It looks a little better when 1 or 2 of those layups turn into and ones. It's the first time in a long time, and you would have to look this up, but I'm almost positive it hasn't occurred in SEC play unless it did at Auburn. It's the first time that we've been in the bonus in both halves. Last week, there was a large disparity for a team that we foul the least and we get fouled the most We had, I think, 6 free throw makes in both games last week. One game, they attempted 29 free throws. One game, they attempted 20. Those are hard numbers for us to overcome relative to how we want to play.
Thanks, Coach. Safe travels.
Yes, sir. Sorry for misunderstanding the initial question.
Oh, no worries.
All right, next up is John Wilson from KBTX, and then Casey.
Coach, with the work that your team is putting in, how gratifying and what can it do for them to get back into the win column?
John, I mean this as sincere as possible. I'm really happy for our guys. And just like I told Olin at the start, they're good kids. We need to get better in 4,212 different ways. And they're beginning to be accepting of whatever way it is we're trying to improve that particular day. And I think that speaks to who they are. We're not the best team. I'm not the best coach. We don't have the best roster, but I do think that there is a skill in how hard you play. And I do think that you can't count the spirit in which you compete. And I think over the last 7 days, we've seen some of that. And I think if we're only going to be excited based on the result, then that's foolish on my part as the leader. But I think when you get a result based on how narrow the lane is and what we've been working on and what correlates to winning, for them to have our second road win, I think that that's really good.
Thank you, Coach.
The best part of it, John, is you always want to win going into an off day, because that means that we'll have early bird on Monday morning, and they think that I'll be in a great mood on Monday morning. So it ends up working out good for everybody.
Thank you.
All right, let's go to Casey from the battalion.
Hey, Coach Williams. Is there any difference in the level of intensity or, the game plan coming into this non-conference game after some tough SEC matches?
I honestly, Casey, I don't think that it was specific to the Big 12 SEC Challenge. I'm glad that the Aggies got a win. Last year, we let the SEC down in that regard. Mike Boynton ran circles around me last season. But I do think this, regardless of opponent, regardless of locale, I think the spirit competitively that you mentioned that we're playing with is what gives us a chance. It doesn't ensure that we're going to win, but I think it at least gives us a chance. And I think there is some traction with our guys that instead of me having to say that, they believe that. And I think even today, when things weren't going good, they're beginning to show signs of maturity on, okay, what's next that I have to accomplish relative to my responsibilities, because this is an opportunity for me competitively to make a difference, instead of giving possessions away where 2 guys, 1 guy, 3 guys are in Mars and we're not good enough to play without all of our guys. I mean, we're hockey subbing. I mean, I don't know what the variance was today, but if you take 1 or 2 guys away, the variance in playing time of the 190 minutes is like from 16 minutes to 23 minutes. So like we're utilizing everything that we have. And when you can get 5 guys going in the same direction, it sure does help.
And in regards to your game plan, did you take any notes from watching what Baylor was able to do to Kansas State?
I'll say this the right way. Bruce Weber, 2 years ago, won the Big 12, went to the Elite Eight. I think they beat Kentucky on the way to the Elite Eight. He's been coach of the year in every league that he's played in. I think he's been to the tournament 15 times. He's close to 500 wins. He is an elite level coach. I studied Baylor. I've studied a lot of their clips. I don't know that I necessarily gleaned something specific from Baylor because when you're preparing for a team, particularly one that you don't follow, like I'll pay attention to what happens the rest of the day. There's different things that I'll study that our video guy gives us on days off relative to our league, not relative to the next opponent we have, just so I can kind of stay abreast of what's going on. when you play a team at the halfway point of an 18-game marathon, you don't really know what's going on. And so you kind of have to do a deep dive, and you're just touching as much as you can. So it's not really from a particular game.
Thanks, Coach.
All right, let's go to Mike Lucas, and then we have a quick follow from Travis.
Hey, Coach, you guys made 18 free throws in a row down the stretch. A couple of those were some big-time pressure free throws with the game of the balance. What does that say about the mental fortitude of your team that when the shots had to go in, they made 18 in a row?
Yeah, I didn't quite hear, Mike, everything that you said, but I understand that it was free throws. We do a deal that I learned 7 years ago every day in practice. It's called 678. You should write a story or do an interview. I can't remember if you're a writer or a video guy, but I jumped on our guys about 678 last week because they weren't handling it all the right way. And so I've kind of changed the game over the last week to make it even double consequence is what I call it. And we've gotten a lot better. I don't necessarily think that we're a bad free throw shooting team. What makes it bad is when you don't shoot very many. But to be able to make as many in a row today, particularly on the road, the earliest game of the day for anybody, I think that's great and a big part of why we won.
Thank you.
All right, we'll wrap it up with
Mike, do you work on Saturdays, the last Saturday of the month, or where's Justin?
I think Justin's in here. I'm in the parking lot of our station right now, so I'm waiting for Justin to get in here. Man,
you guys are an unbelievable duo. We got to get Travis like an assistant coach. We need Travis. Travis, who do you you're a writer, Travis?
Yeah.
For who?
The Eagle newspaper.
Is that the local one?
Yes, sir.
I'm going to tell the owner of the Eagle, we need to get you some help.
I got Alex Miller in here. He does my tweeting.
Where is he? I don't see his face.
He's hiding.
Hey, Coach.
Alex,
right
you're gonna have to step up, man. You can't come to a Zoom as an assistant coach and not turn your video on, pal.
All right, I'll leave it on next time just for you.
No, it's not for me. It's for Travis. This is about Eagle. It ain't got nothing to do with me. There's going to be another coach at Texas A&M, the next basketball coach. I'm trying to help Travis.
You gotta hand me my clipboard. Coach, real quick. I know be remiss not to talk about Kevin Marfo channeling that Tim Duncan energy with that face up jumper and then what he was able to do on the boards.
Hey, I tell you what, and I've been telling him that's a difficult spot to come into as a fifth-year graduate transfer when you literally know nothing. When it's during a pandemic and you can't come to campus and there's no summer workouts, and for us, we had no fall workouts. Travis, he has limitations. I think he's aware of that. That's why our team respects him. Man, he had some really big possessions in the first half. And the other thing, do you remember, it's probably about midway through, we ran a counter where we flipped what Savion normally does and what Marfo normally does. And Marfo was able to catch it at the elbow and threw it to Savion. Man, that's a big thing for us. And his possessions that he played today and his ability to help us at that position by getting a basket, by getting multiple rebounds. He's doing a really good job defensively in the things that are not on a stat sheet. And he's been just as big a part as anybody else in the consistency piece over the last week.
Thanks, Coach.
All right, that's a wrap.
Okay,
Thanks,
guys.
Coach.
Take care. Alex, turn the video on. It's a little button on the screen. It says start video.
Gotcha, Coach. Thanks.